Good evening, everybody, and welcome to California Free Radio. I'm Mike Netter, accompanied as always by Scott, Piotr, and Kurt. Say hi, gents.
Hey guys.
Hi, gents.
This show, there you go. Well, that was very good, Kurt. I've trained you well. This show, when we talk about California Free Radio, it's up to you to spread the word. And I'm going to start off with an opening blast, as I always do, about kind of what's happening in California. But I want to start off a little bit what I consider to be a victory for the country today. I'm going to tell you right now, it's important that if you're on Facebook watching this at Netter Mike or Mike Netter, on X at Netter Mike or taxfighter.com or LinkedIn, spread the word to your own channels. What we tell you here is things that the mainstream media doesn't talk about, or they downplay and they ignore. And I want to start off by asking our audience out there tonight, and remember, you can give us questions, etc. I don't think there's anybody that would argue with me out there to say the most important thing to, quote, keeping the species going, the most important thing, period,
is turning your phone off before you
is
start
turning
your
my
radio
phone
podcast.
off for starters, but also making sure that we do the best for the next generation. Because if we don't do the best for the next generation, and I'm not a climate change fan, it's really not going to matter whether it rains on a Tuesday or it's 400 degrees on a Thursday, because there won't be anybody around to see it. It's not really going to matter who's in the White House, because there won't be any around who cares. And what we're happening gradually, more than gradually, in the rapid fabric of America and California, is they're taking away from us the ability not only to raise our kids in the way that we want to raise them, the way we educate our kids, and even the way that our kids are brought up and trained in the basic human, social, and physical skills. And gentlemen, I want to start today with what I consider to be a really big victory by President Trump. It may not get a lot of play in the press, but I want to tell you how important it is. For those of us out there, many of you who watch our show, and God bless you for doing it, our viewership is growing every week. You're kind of a bit of the older generation, and you remember what I'm talking about. We used to train kids in physical activity. And if you're not trained in physical activity, when you get old, you won't practice physical activity. And somewhere along the line, that would be Barack Obama, started taking physical activity out of schools. Gavin Newsom in California quashed even letting the kids go to school for almost 2 years or whatever the total was, meaning that they weren't interacting socially. What Trump did today in bringing back the Presidential Fitness Award may seem small for many of you out there, but it's not. It is another way to require kids, the younger generation, to understand they have to be active if they're going to be healthy. And when it comes to the moral fiber and things that they want to teach our kids and quash the next generation as they sit in front of a PlayStation or getting school on Zoom, they're trying to take that away from us in California, and they're doing that every day. And we, Scott, Kurt, and a large group of people, starting with Aaron Friday and many others we had a couple of weeks ago, fight for the next generation. And I'm very proud to have a guest tonight, Nicole Pearson. We're going to bring her on, who is an attorney, an amazing fighter. And tonight, what we want to focus on are what we call bad bills. And if you're following in my feed on LinkedIn or Facebook or watching our YouTube channel, we put out what these bad bills are so you can follow along. But it's important you know that while you're paying attention, oh, I wonder what's in the Epstein files. I wonder, oh, look, the pro football season is starting. Anything which distracts you, the underbelly of California, which we call the government, is ripping away the very fabric by which we can raise our kids. I'm very proud to introduce our next guest, Nicole Pearson. Scott, could you bring Nicole in from the green room?
Welcome, Nicole.
Nicole, where's Nicole?
Good question.
We should have her back in 1 second here. right now. There's Nicole. Nicole, welcome to California Free Radio. I'm going to start you off and
Thank you, guys.
tell the audience about yourself. You are truly an amazing person. I don't even know the way to put it. You're an attorney, you are an amazing speaker, but you also find the time to write and keep track of, I don't even know a polite way to put it without cussing on the air, the expletive deleted things that are being done to our kids. Start off by telling our audience a little bit about you.
Well, I am a mom, first and foremost, mother of 3 and California attorney. And I am just fighting the good fight. Everything that I do is for the kids. So, it started in COVID and for freedom and autonomy and limited government. and oops.
We seem to have a weak connection.
Yes,
I might
okay.
have
We're
bad
gonna
connection. I might have to go log on somewhere else.
Okay. Well, do what you have to do, Nicole, but I want people to hear what you have to say. Okay. So if you have to log off and log back on,
I'm just gonna move rooms.
Okay, you move rooms for a second.
All right,
Why
I took her off.
Okay. Why Nicole's doing that, let me explain something here. What's happening in the California legislature, why we tend to pay attention to things like the price of gas, gents, which affect our everyday life, what's happening in schools and what they're doing to our kids. Kurt, you put out a couple stories about that this week.
Well, they're attacking our kids every day, unfortunately, in California and liberals throughout the country, Mike. I mean, it's outrageous. Let's see.
And you remember Erin Friday, our guest from a couple of weeks ago. She talked about how schools are doing these gender support plans they're not telling parents about, and parents have rights, but the school districts are just walking all over parents because parents don't know any better. And you get the differentiation of, yes, parents are allowed to opt their kids in or out of sex ed, but if they're explaining the difference between heterosexual and homosexual, even sex, as long as they're not doing sex ed, you're not allowed to take your kids out of the school. So I think Nicole's ready. Let me bring her back on.
I am. We'll see how this goes. I'm trying to hide. It's dinner time and bedtime, so I'm hiding. I was hiding, but we'll see.
And you have a couple little ones running around.
And Nicole, by the way, for everyone out there, we the people that do this, it's interesting. I watched a documentary on Barbara Walters. I'll get there in a second. And one of the biggest regrets of her life is she didn't make time for family and really didn't have any. And for all of us, anybody out there, we do this as political advocates because we give a damn. And Nicole, there's nothing more important than I've ever done in my life, raising my kids, which in spite of me came out great. And so bless you for just even coming on with us tonight. Nicole, diving into it, tell us again, you're an attorney and you have a great story that I know I've had you on my radio shows before. I'm checking our social media feed. So tell us your story before we start to talk about the main reason you're here.
Well, I will tell you guys, I think it goes back to COVID. And I mean, it goes back even further than that. I would just share a little nugget for anybody who's listening and whoever had any regrets professionally or personally in their lives to take stock of where they are in their lives right now, because everything that happened in my life put me and uniquely positioned me to do the work that I started to do in COVID. Even things that I thought were failures, like quitting a job or getting fired, it's not you, it's me from a big firm job. All of these things made me uniquely situated to fight mandates and sue the government. Because if I had been where I was in a big firm in Century City, I would not have been able to go against and start speaking up on behalf of all of us. Number one. Number two, I've done big firm. I was on my own. I had 2 small children. COVID happened and I was terrified of COVID. So I want to share this because I was posting, on the internet, yelling at people for not being locked down, saying 2 weeks is, I had no idea what was going on. I was washing my groceries. At that time, I had two small children who had, one has lung issues, one has a heart issue. And I was deathly afraid of COVID because I think we had it in December of 2019. We just didn't know what it was. And one of my daughters was hospitalized. So then when we got out of that, and then there was this China virus that was coming, I was just like terrified. So I locked us down. But I'm grateful that I did, because then I started to look at what was happening. And so I share all these things because these are the lessons learned, okay? Is that you can pivot and you can change, and you can always do the gut check. You do not need to be an attorney. You don't need to be a doctor. You don't need to be a scientist. Very quickly, I just realized that things were not right. And I was getting messages from friends like, hey, they're doing this in my school. They're trying to pass this at the board. And I literally said many times, the government cannot do that. They would never do that. That's how naive I was. And I was like, I graduated in 2009. So that was I was pretty far out in my career. And I literally said that over and over. Now my mantra is, the government's doing it. They haven't even said it. And I know that they're doing it. I know that they're messing with my Instagram feed, and they're losing my papers at the courthouse, and they're telling me to go to one courtroom. And it's as I couldn't have made a more 180 polar opposite turn. But I just share this with you guys because I have come a long way, and I'm just honest. Like, even if it's against me, I'm like, these are the facts, and I did that gut check. So, I started speaking out because I didn't think it was right. And my family comes from a socialist country, and I saw the writing on the wall. If we were all dying in the streets with this virus, the vaccines came out. I was super excited. I couldn't wait to get one. And then I called, where I live, the county where I live, when can we get one? When can we get one? And they told me, well, we can't get one. You can't get one until we get the passport going, the QR code. Digital. And that's when I just went ballistic. I was like, what? If we're all dying, I thought we were all going to go to Dodger Stadium or Angel Stadium or Costco parking lot and just get these life-saving jabs. And why do we need a QR code? Why can't you just sign my little yellow piece of paper that's at the bottom of my purse that no one ever looks at? And so I just started putting things together, and it just didn't make any sense. And then that's when I started Facts, Law, Truth, Justice. That's when I met Bobby Kennedy, started working with Children's Health Defense, and we just started suing the government. And then everything has just come from there. And all my work is protecting the kids, protecting our freedom, our autonomy, our privacy, because if you don't have that and the government can tell you what you put in your body or your children's bodies, you are nothing. You are a slave. You're literally nothing. So everything that I do touches on that. And that's where it came from. I know it's a little bit of a wide net that I cast.
No, it's actually, and by the way, this is Nicole Pearson. I see some questions here, people coming in late. She went on and off. I want to add something to this, Nicole. And I don't know how to put this without sounding strange, but when I first met you, I was amazed that you had just graduated in 2009, because part of the problem that it seems California is trying to quash, and I think we missed it, is people from my generation, hey, we took time off to raise kids. We missed 20 years in the political movement while the Democrats built an institution in California. And I don't know if you heard at the beginning, but I think it's really big what Kennedy got through with Trump today, just putting back physical education, which sounds so basic. Let them play, let them run around, show them some organized. But in the meantime, where we're paying attention to this, and do me a favor, and you had to come on late because you have a job, which you're not supposed to have a job.
I have a full-time job. Yeah, my 3 kids.
You have a full-time job. Do us a favor. We're going to ask you a couple times. Put up where you want people to go. We're going to run that on the crawler to find out more about you. Okay? Because the Substack article, I read it 3 times today. I did go to public school, full disclosure. I read slow, but I did read it 3 times today because it's amazing what you put out there. I want people to know where to go to find you. We see the X on the bottom there, but what is the website? I know it's Truth, Justice, The American Way. I totally botched it. Tell us
I
about
would,
that.
I mean, I pour my heart and soul into the Substacks. So I would go to factslawtruthjustice.substack.com. That's where I break everything down. I put everything is linked. Those articles take me 3 or 4 hours because I link everything. No one wants to believe what I'm saying. And so everything is cited to, everything is linked, everything is verified. I don't even touch anything if I know that it's legitimate. And I've spoken to experts and people who are directly affected by it, or I'm representing those people, or I'm suing those people. So I would go to factslawtruthjustice.substack.com, and then my website is linked to that. And when you go to my website, factslawtruthjustice.com, we just relaunched, and so we have a resources section, and so we have templates, letters, cease and desist letters or notices that you can put people on notice, your employer or your school district, whatever it may be. And we have templates there for you guys as well. So either of those locations, and get, the notifications when you follow me at Nicole Pearson, ESQ, on Instagram, Nicole Pearson JD, put the notifications, because I'm literally working litigate. I've never litigated more in my entire life, my entire career, than I am litigating now. So when I post something, it's because it's something that is like happening. It's pertinent. I'm not a journalist. I'm not retweeting other people's tweets to make it seem like news. Like, I'm coming to you with something that I think is important, that is going to shape how you think about something, or is something that needs you to take action. So I'm very purposeful, and I don't get to post as much because I can't. But also I recognize that we're all kind of inundated with it.
Right.
So I would just
We're
follow
here
my.
we're here for you, and I'm laughing not at you, because you're like the James Brown who was the busiest man in showbiz. You're like the busiest person in the legal biz. Every time I talk to Nicole, she's like, I gotta go, I got a case. And you and I have known each other quite a while. And in fact, I was amazed, and I also want to put in a plug here for the movie that we went to, Line in the Sand, which is one of our
That was great.
passions about human trafficking. But
Right.
just getting a hold of you to even coordinate you going
It
is just
was so generous. I know.
that's amazing. So let's talk about you. We had put out there some of the bad bills, okay, that are right now in the California legislature. And one of the reasons I had to read it 3 times, and I know about these. Aaron Friday sends it to me, and the letters and the templates of the things you talk about for everyone out there, especially if you're watching on LinkedIn, because I know you have a job, okay? And even on Facebook and X and the YouTube, look, all you have to do is go to Find My Legislature. Nicole has put in there, and I think there's 5 bills. Is it 4 bills or 5 bills that literally, I'm amazed I still have hair tonight. Don't I look good? Because you want to rip your hair out when you read these things, because it's almost like out of a George Orwell novel. So I want to spend some time going down these bills a little bit. Producer, maybe you could even bring them up. Again, I put out extra pregame publicity. It's in Netter News today, the link to it, so you can read them slowly. Nicole's a lot smarter than I am. I know, not much of an upgrade. And so she understands it very well, but you did a really good job of succinctly explaining how bad they are and the action which can be taken. So let's start with them. You start reeling through them. And I'm doing some social media stuff, watching my team right now, so I'm paying attention here.
I think the first thing that we need to do is just to set the table of what's happening here. And I'm sure Erin, I love Erin. We work together. She's a mentor, a colleague, a friend. She's amazing. So I'm sure she already set the table for you and for this episode. But first of all, the ultimate goal is to legally emancipate minors. You can have a spiritual opinion about this or basis in this. You can have a political one. So I'm religious. I believe this is demonic. I believe this is satanic. We sacrifice our children to Moloch, whether it's through abortion, through IVF, whether it is through the transgender, sterilizing and mutilating our children so they can't have their own children, or they commit suicide because we know that transitioning them doesn't address the underlying mental health issues and distress that they're experiencing. All of these things, or whether it's just outright suicide or handing them off to traffickers, which we will get to in a second with Assembly Bill 495. If you don't want to believe that, if you're not spiritual, you don't think that there's just something really icky and wicked and vile that's happening around children, then you can do it from a political, social perspective. It's communist, it's fascist. They want to break the nuclear family. And if they can break the nuclear family, rip the children from the homes, turn them against their parents, have them turn their parents in, get rid of the four traditions like they did in Maoist China so that we can, divide us, weaken us, turn us all against each other. And so we're like this individual beige blobs with no gender, no identity, no sense of purpose, no family, no tradition, no history to really fight for. Either way, they are attacking the children. The children are the lowest hanging fruit. They are the most vulnerable in California. They, we have compulsory education system, so they have to go into school. If the child is 6 and is not in school, doesn't have a public school, private school affidavit, they can come take the kids from you. So they get the kids, they try and get them young because, like Stalin said, give me your child so many years and I'll turn them into a revolutionary, all of the things. They want to get them as early as possible when they're as most vulnerable as possible. So that's what we have. I personally believe, as someone who's worked in anti-human trafficking for over a decade, I believe that there is a pedophile agenda here, again, going after the kids, legally emancipating the kids. If we'll go over the bills, but kids as young as 12 in California can already consent without their parents knowing to sexual reproductive health care, to mental health services, to substance abuse services. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about getting an abortion, getting birth control, substance abuse, therapy without you knowing. A bill passed when they can consent to certain types of treatment. They now have the ability to seal their records. And we have seen Senator Scott Wiener out of San Francisco tried to get 12-year-olds to consent to all vaccines. And we know that if we didn't kill that bill, Senate Bill 866 in 2022, the next one would have been the transgender bill, right? If they can get an abortion, if they can get mental health care, if they can get a vaccine, why can't they consent to their own gender affirming care? And then within a couple of years, it will be, if they can do all these things, why can't they choose who they love, right? I personally believe.
Well, yeah, and I think let's go down. These are active bills, and for everybody out there,
those are laws.
and
That
again,
is law.
yeah,
And that's why I want to set the table so people understand.
right. No, I understand. I want to make everybody understand that the politicians in California, as what expletive deleted they are, that are the Democrats, and note the word expletive deleted, I'll let you fill it in, okay? Have bills right now that are going to make it worse. And they are always afraid of losing their jobs because, frankly, people like Scott Wiener, who isn't fit to wash the underside of a car with a surgical brush, okay, just about all he can do and has higher aspirations. So I want to cover right now, because if we at least scream at them, and that's kind of the theme I want to get across, right? The people that watch us and our show, again, we're going to have maybe 10,000 watch tonight. A bulk of them kind of go, yeah, I know that's going on. We need you to be like evangelical and spread the word about these bills right now. AB stands for Assembly Bill, as a reminder. Yes. SB stands for State Bill. The bills you see scrolling across now, which again are in our that they're Assembly or State Senate, they're not yet to Gavin's desk.
Right.
And this may be a shock to you. In spite of all Gavin turning a new leaf, he signs most of these in the dead of night, so to speak. So what I want to do is go down this before your kids let loose from dinner and come running across my screen. AB 84. That's enough. No porn on the screen.
No, that's
Scott,
just our
please.
Senator Scott Wiener that I just
By the way, yes, which is, by the way, just on a quasi-facetious note, the fact that someone's writing these bills and their name is Wiener should say something to begin with. But let's put that down. Let's talk about AB 84. Tell us what's in it and Again, I'm going to let you use your words because you are the
Sure.
attorney.
So Assembly Bill 84, and SB is for Senate Bill. Assembly Bill 84 was drafted by Assembly Member Al Marzouchi. He's out of the South Bay. He's running for public superintendent of public instruction in 2026 against the incredible Sonia Shaw. Go Sonia. And he's
Absolutely.
backed by Planned Parenthood and by the CTA. It's really a CTA bill. That's the California Teachers Union. And what we've seen is just a steady decline especially after COVID. And then certainly just kind of compounded by what they've been doing with what Aaron described last week, which was with the sneaky, the secret files of your child, the secret clubs, the secret conversations, Assembly Bill 1955, which allows teachers to lie to parents and have these weird conversations and relationships with your children where they're planting bad seeds in their head and alienating them from you, and then creating confusion, and then inviting them into these clubs and out of your home. That would be Assembly Bill 665, which did pass last year, again courtesy of Scott Wiener and Assemblywoman Wendy Carrillo. What we saw was a really big uprising in parents, and then a sharp decline in public school enrollment. So the public schools are struggling, and so what they want to do is essentially technically shut down charter schools, homeschools, and their vendors, so that you don't have the option as a parent with the constitutional fundamental right to direct the education of your child, which is a well settled constitutional right that's been protected by the Supreme Court for over 100 years. They don't want you to be able to exercise that right to the fullest extent possible. So what are we going to do? We're not going to say we're shutting down charter schools where the charter school kids are outperforming their public school peers, and where charter schools are public schools that are tailored. It's a tailored public curriculum to your child and your child's unique needs. We're not going to just shut them down, but we're going to run them out of business by creating these impossible bureaucratic loopholes, or not loopholes, but hurdles and requirements that the public schools don't need to live up to. So they're making it impossible for charter and home schools, which already operate literally at 50% of the budget as public schools, and requiring them to meet impossible thresholds in order to function. Again, to drive out the competition and then force your children into the public schools that we've been running from all the reasons we just discussed.
And as we tie our shows together, Nicole, and I know you watch us every week religiously. Okay, you don't.
I do. I watch my friend
That's
Aaron
4 weeks
for sure.
And we also
She's
have
the one.
on Kevin McNamee too, who is running the new school choice initiative. And I want to really just break down a little bit of what you said on two fronts. There's a lot of homeschoolers who are like, oh, we can't do this new CEO Act, which is school choice. You're on their radar. That's exactly what Nicole is talking about. If you think you're hiding within your home, educating your kids in a bunker, it's through charter schools, and they're trying to rip the backbone out of it. I also want to add, and we'll have her on again, just so you know, we have the most fabulous need to be elected Sonia Shaw sorry, I'm old, I can go roll with me, about 6 weeks ago. And I want to stress again that the guy, Al Machamuchamuka, whatever the heck his name is, who authored this bill, is running to be head of all the schools. So nothing to see here, if you will, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the writing is on the wall. He used to be pro-charter, but he has to do whatever his donors say so that he can get elected. But really, ultimately, if he's the superintendent of public instruction, then his goal is to get the public enrollments up, which means funding up, right? Because they have to, the dollars follow, follow the children, the enrollment. And so the CTA wants the money, the CTA wants the kids, and regardless of whether the kids are thriving, they're not. We're 50. Well, I think we're 50. I don't want to quote, I can look it up really quickly what we are according to US News. Our rankings, our K through 12 public school rankings are at the bottom of the run, like the entire.
You don't need to look it up. We're first. The only thing we're first in any category in California is last place, and that includes education. Okay, yes, we're 38.
It's failure, and
well, no,
failure,
that's not true.
Nicole,
we are first in taxes.
Nicole, thank you for what you're doing. thank you for what you're doing and fighting against the people that want to damage our children. But I've got to say, as a parent, I don't trust any public school. I would encourage every parent, homeschool your kids, put them in private school. There are homeschool cooperatives. They're going to try to destroy the spiritual background you're trying to give your children. They're going to try to destroy their relationship with their family. And as you say, their culture, their religion, their heritage. They're evil. The Democrats that are doing what they're doing to our children, start including what they did under COVID, are not just wrong. They're
I
evil.
agree. And I feel like there are so many resources. I always say that COVID was a blessing and a curse because we know how to educate our children at home. And some of us know, like myself, that I cannot educate my children at home between my work and my temperament. I'm not the best homeschool mom. But what I did get also was a lot of connections and a lot of resources. And you don't have to move onto the prairie and churn your own butter and have a chalkboard. There's so many ways. And I would just say that investing in your child now is going to save you a lifetime. And I'm sure, I know that Erin shared her story. Erin was an involved mom. She left her big law firm job. She's also an attorney to be there for her child. And she could still not save her 11-year-old daughter. They tried to transition her behind her back because they have so many systems in place to hide their nefarious, like I said, conversations and clubs. And like you guys said, like they'll do the boys love boys and the girls love girls club during lunch. So they don't have to tell you about it. They're going to do a peer, what's it called? Like when you have like a buddy in Escondido, we saw where the 5th graders were reading My Shadow is Pink to kindergartners. Well, you're a parent and you're like, oh, great. I love this like mentoring program that our Escondido Unified School District is putting on for my kindergartner. How cute. He gets an upper school or middle school buddy. And you don't know unless one of the children, the 5th graders, had the moral fortitude to say, this is really uncomfortable. I don't feel like talking to a kindergartner about his shadow being pink, came home to his parents and Carlos, and they told us, and then we were able to sound the alarm and shut that down. But they are going to do, like you guys said, find every which way that they can to get to your child, plant these seeds in their brains, put the books there, make them accessible, have the inappropriate books in the teacher's classroom so that you can't object to it because it's not in the library. They're doing everything they can to confuse your children, to pervert your children, to desensitize your children. I don't care. I literally don't care what anybody says to me, if calls me, labels me. This is happening. If it wasn't so bad, then why would Rob Bonta be suing me and Aaron Friday and Protect Kids of California for wanting to pass a law that requires teachers not to lie to parents, for example, when their child is suffering from a mental health disorder? If your child misses school, they call you. If your child's grades go down, they call you. If your child is like not the same peppy child that they normally are, they call you. They're mandatory reporters. They have to get CPS involved. But when your child says, I think I don't have a penis, I have a vagina, and I want to cut my penis off, they're like, oh, we cannot tell the parents that. Like, why? This doesn't, this is what I was talking about at the top of the hour. I'm going to use your language at the top of the hour. Just stop for 1 second and be honest with yourselves. That's not normal. That's not normal. When I went to school, I didn't know which teacher was married.
That's the problem. Well, I want to jump in here. That is the problem. They're trying to change normal for the next generation. Nicole, that's SB 80 or AB 84. Scott, could you scroll for everyone out there? Note again, facts, law, justice coming up there. Let's go with AB 86.
Let's go with AB 495. Let's go with AB 495, which is.
All right, let's go with AB 495. Okay. Change your plans.
No, well, because I want to tell you guys, again, I set like the setting or whatever, the table, because if you just look at what they've done the last 10 years, which is slowly legally emancipating our children as young as 12. Different states have different ages. Some are 14, some are 12, some are 16. But in California, the magic number is 12. So your children can already get these services without you knowing. Now, thanks to a bill that passed in 2022, they can seal their records when they get that treatment without you knowing. So you can't help when they make the wrong decision and then your child is bleeding out or is having seizures or is comatose and you can't call the medical records or the medical office and find out what happened. They have to tell you, I can't tell you, Miss Pearson, because your 12-year-old sealed her records when she went and got an abortion without telling you. So if you
Okay,
look at all of it,
Nicole, I've got a question about that. Under
go
the
ahead.
1971 Supreme Court case Yoder, which is in the same line of cases as Griswold and Roe, the court
Hmm.
ruled parents have an absolute right to control the upbringing of their children. So
Hmm.
has someone sued under that precedent to overturn nonsense like this?
That law passed maybe like 10 years ago. I'm not sure what legal battles ensued after that law was passed, to be completely transparent with you guys. I'm sure just the same way. This is the problem, Kurt. There are only so many attorneys who want to fight these fights. Like even when in COVID, when we had parents were like, I barely slept because I had messages pinging me, phone calls every single day from all hours of the day. And then when I was like, okay, we're ready to go. We have the legal, formula. We've created the way that we're going to overturn whatever was happening, a mandate, a bill, a declaration of state of emergency. I need one plaintiff to put their name on this complaint. Crickets. I couldn't get I had people crying in my office, in the waiting room, like I can't even tell you. And then when it comes for someone to help fundraise, give $100. You don't even have to fund the whole thing. Give $100. If we got a million parents gave $100 to fund our firm, we would have a freedom fund that I talk about all the time that could stop these things. So number one, I don't know exactly what legal attacks were launched after that. Number one, I will say this. That is that law was likely, so I'm just going to give you a hypothetical analysis, would likely subjected. So the government can't infringe on your constitutionally protected rights, right? They can if it passes strict scrutiny. So they can pass a law that infringes on your rights. But the stronger your right is, then the higher threshold the government has to meet to justify their infringement. So they would have to meet a strict scrutiny, like you said, that's like a fundamental right, super well established and protected. And they would have to present or prove a compelling state interest, and that the bill or that bill that turned into a law was narrowly tailored and the most restrictive means of accomplishing that purpose. And I can envision, based on the debates that I've had, when they came to, for example, the sexual reproductive health care that 12-year-olds can get without your knowledge or consent, is that there was a horrible, horrible case. And I know there are horrible cases of the 11-year-old who's being raped by her grandfather or her father or her brother, but more adults in her life. And so she can't go get the treatment, the care that she needs. So what they always do is they take that one horrible story example, and they allow this one horrifying exception to swallow the rule. So is that a compelling interest to save 11-year-olds who are being abused by their parents and need sexual reproductive health care, but can't go to the parents that would authorize the care to begin with? Absolutely. I personally, Nicole Pearson, as a lawyer, as a bleeding heart liberal, the way that it used to be, I want to go represent that girl and get her what she needs. Do I think I need to change the law so that now every 12-year-old gets that right? No, but that is you've seen the way that we talked about COVID. We've seen the way that you're a bigot, you're a homophobe, you're a transphobe, you're a COVID denier, you are a grandma killer. So I can only envision the type of vitriol, even back then, that was surrounding people who were trying to fight that. I can imagine that people didn't want to put their names on the lawsuit. There wasn't the funding there, and that some woke court, judge was like, well, we got to protect the little girls who are being abused by their parents. And so that's, we have a compelling interest, and this is narrowly tailored to meet those needs. I don't agree with the analysis, but, I lose in court all the time because we have, judges who are scared, who are dishonest, and who are woke and liberal and do what their overlords tell them to do. So I don't know. That's my assumption of what happened.
A quick
And
question
Nicole,
for you, Nicole. Let
what-
me follow up on that. I
Yeah.
mean, you spend a lot of time on your Substack, and you explain a lot of these bills, and the action items above are included in there. Write your assemblyman, write your senator. Are you also part of? Does your law firm actually end up filing lawsuits against these guys? Do you team up with other, Pacific Justice Institute and other, public action law firms to sue these guys? Is that part of your arsenal?
Yeah, so we started, like I mentioned, with COVID when LAUSD passed its COVID mandate to make all the children vaccinate against COVID. I was on a call with Bobby Kennedy, with a bunch of people, and I'm like, we got to file a lawsuit. They passed it at a special meeting, no notice on a Thursday. It was going to be implemented on Monday. I'm like, we got to file a lawsuit Monday. And everyone's like, well, we got to, this is what I'm telling you, our donors and our board, we got to, and I was like, F it. I literally got off the phone. I bought a domain and I opened Facts, Law, Truth, Justice, my law firm, under my old law firm name. So it was like this separate kind of branch. And then Jessica Barsotti and Rita Barnett, who were on the call because they were working with CHT, joined me. And then we launched a bunch of lawsuits. Out of that grew, though, my advocacy, because, my legal toolkit is only as strong as the laws that I'm trying to enforce, right? So if we have these laws that are being passed that withstand, scrutiny, like Kurt was mentioning, and now they're law, I lose another arrow in my quiver. My arsenal is less. So obviously I want to fight to stop the bad bills. I want to be on the offensive. I don't want to be on the defensive, in a court of law fighting against all these bad, bad case law and pass bad laws. So out of that sprung my advocacy so that we can get together and kill these bills. I mean, that's what it's called. It's called killing a bill. And so we can kill these bills so then we don't have this horrible law that now we're trying to constantly be protecting ourselves and our children from, if that makes sense. So it's both. And we have FLTJ LLP is my legal limited liability partnership. That's the firm. And then I have FLTJ, which is my advocacy. And I do both out of that. And we're growing. Like I said, after COVID, Jessica, Rita, and I kind of pretended like we were going to retire. And we kind of went off to do our own things and lick our wounds. But the battle does not end. It was COVID then it was, transgenderism. Now it's
so the good news is that the legal arsenal is still there, even though it may not have as much power as you'd like. As an example, you did file a lawsuit then against LAUSD over the COVID mandate, vaccine mandate.
Yeah, we did, and we got that stopped. And I do work with, for example, Pacific Justice or Liberty. Liberty Justice Center with Emily Ray. We are the ones that put together, Aaron Friday and I, there was a coalition. We did Protect Kids of California, the ballot initiative, which Rob Bonta, for example, gave a really bad title in a summary. So then we had to sue him. Then, of course, the judge was like, I think my boss, the attorney general of the state is right. So now we're in a court of appeal. We fight where we need to fight. We try and fight the.
So did you win the case against LAUSD?
LAUSD, we achieved the goal that we wanted. We fought with another firm, and we fell on the sword, and they went somewhere else. So they got the actual win based on the same complaint and the same arguments. They got the actual win because we did all the injunctions and the temporary.
The case was won.
Yeah, we won.
The good news, or part of what you want to do though is you want to get awarded fees, so you start to develop your own arsenal, your own reserve that you can file these lawsuits without going broke in the meantime.
Absolutely. But you in California, you can only get fees if they're in the contract or per statute. So American rule is that everybody bears their costs. So
you don't have the private attorney general statute that you're making better law for the public.
Well, you also have 1021.5, which is I think that's the one that you're referring to. So civil code section, or excuse me, I don't know if it's civil code or code of civil procedure. I think it's civil code section 1021.5 is when you are advocating for a significant matter of significant public interest, and you you achieve the result that you want, even if it's not the way that you intended it to, then you're entitled to fees. But then of course you need a judge.
Like the LAUSD case would have fallen into that category, right? Because you would have thought that. Students.
You would have thought that, but what the judge ended up saying is, so we literally partnered with another firm and we said, are you going to file a temporary restraining order on Friday so that we can restrain the implementation of the mandate? And so these children don't die by getting forcibly vaccinated with this experimental bioweapon. And they said, listen, we're not going to do that. We entered into an agreement with the attorneys for LAUSD. We're not going to do any discovery, no motion work. We're going to go straight to trial in 6 months. So my firm, Rita, Jessica, and I had to go in. We went in for 3 temporary restraining orders and push back and push back and push back, bought them time to get to trial to win on the arguments that we all made. When they won, they filed a motion for attorney's fees, and we also filed one because it's called a catalyst. We were a catalyst into achieving the pushback and the delay of the mandate, and then ultimately the rescission of the mandate. The judge did not order LAUSD to rescind their mandate. What did LAUSD do? They held a special meeting and decided, oh, we're not going to enforce this anymore because COVID's not so bad and we have our vaccination rates. That's not what happened. We were winning in court, winning the injunctions. People were unenrolling. People were pulling their kids. So they're like, we got to let go of this. So we achieved the results. So to your point, under the catalyst theory, the 1021.5 civil code section, we were entitled to our fees. The judge, he's horrible. Judge, I will remember his name. I will remember his name.
But
Lord.
bottom line
Right,
is
but
that he
actually,
decided
like-
that you didn't win the case, and so he didn't award fees.
He said, neither of you guys won the case. They rescinded the mandate on their own volition, and neither of you get fees. So
Yeah, a bad judge, a Democrat judge.
So
He's
Nicole,
horrible.
let's talk about some of these others that are scrolling across the screen
Sure.
here. Pick them. You could see them. AB 727. I'm trying to look them up
Yeah.
rapidly at the same time.
yeah, so we have AB 84 charter and homeschools to eliminate your choices as a parent. And the way that you educate your kids, and again, force them back into extremely dangerous public school system. And we have Assembly Bill, like you just mentioned, 727. And what Assembly Bill 727 wants to do is they want to put on the back of every single child's school ID the number 2, the Trevor Project. And if anybody knows what the Trevor Project is, this is from
Tell them about it again. I know what it is, but assume most people don't know.
And just to be clear, it's for 7th to 12th graders, but the Trevor Project is it's what they call the suicide prevention community for LGBTQ plus children. So they want to, like I said, indoctrinate your child, confuse your child, tempt your child with all these weird perverted stories and ideas, and secret clubs and secret conversations with the teacher. Also secret closets. So your child can go to school in his or her regular clothes. And then if you have one of these woke activist perverted teachers, groomer teachers, then can I say any more words? This is going to get us deplatformed and censored. But if you have one of those teachers, they actually have closets. So your child will come in his or her regular attire, change at school, play dress up and make believe all day. Where he's made to feel more or she worse and worse and worse that they're living a lie. They come home, they're angry, they're confused, they're weird to you. You have more fights. But anyways, when that happens, because your child is living a secret double life with a stranger that's being weird and saying weird things to them that they know in the bottom and their gut check is wrong, they're going to have on the back of their school card this Trevor Project suicide prevention hotline number. Why? Because they're suffering, because they're living incongruent lives thanks to these weird teachers and the policies that these school districts and our own Attorney General Rob Bonta and our Governor Gavin Newsom are and our Superintendent Tony Thurmond are building and endorsing and supporting and suing school districts who are refusing to kowtow to this item.
And let's say what it is. The Trevor Project, that phone number, they hook them up with an adult, and they're either like on your, as the picture shows on the screen, which comes from your website, by the way, they're texting and grooming your little 4th grader or 6th grader, either via text or by talking to them. And they've called the number that's on the back of their ID. It's like groomers are us phone number on the back of their IDs, and we have no say over that.
Right. Well, and I would really move, anybody can right now Google facts, law, truth, justice, Substack, and the title of my article is "Tell Me There's an Agenda Without Telling Me There's an Agenda." When you look at AB 84, that's forcing kids into public school, AB 727, which is giving them access to these groomer websites. Again, they don't do ID checks, they don't do age verification. There is I don't even know the words because I don't obviously engage in this, but they have fetish groups and boys love boys and girls love girls, and we're adults. It's like age fetishism. I don't know what the word is, but when you think that you're younger than you are. So like you can have a 65-year-old man, but he believes he identifies as he's 12 in a chat room with your 12-year-old. That's the Trevor Project. This is not hyperbolic. This is not me. You can go Google. You can see parents have go do it yourself. Go create an online profile. They don't check your ID. They don't check your age. I can create one now, say I'm 13 years old, and go in a chat room with 13-year-old boys and start propositioning them and saying totally inappropriate things. No one does anything about it. That's Trevor Project. So that's AB 7.
Oh, I have an idea. We ought to get some people with some cameras that record all this, and
A sting.
have fake 13-year-olds get on and claim they're a 13-year-old and try to catch these people in illegal activities so they can be prosecuted.
And
Well, the
they
funny
are.
thing is, they do a lot of that. And before we go too far down a rabbit hole, because this is a subject that ticks all of us off, it's illegal. It's wrong. What the government is doing of California is they're making it easier and legal. Again, I want to kind of roll back to begin with. For most of you out there, you're like, what the expletive deleted? Okay, this is not normal behavior. Okay.
Right.
For people to go down and first off, a 13, 14-year-old shouldn't be in a chat room unsupervised. A 12-year-old should not decide their own fate. They're 12. Shocking. I wasn't that responsible at 12 years old. Many would say I haven't grown out of it. We'll talk about that later. And certainly a 65-year-old or 50-year-old or 20-year-old should not be interfacing with people underage like this. It's just morally and ethically wrong. And the government of California is making it easier and more acceptable, not only to do, but putting, Nicole, correct me if I'm wrong in my simple mind, but putting the bubble of education around it. So when you don't have time to supervise your kid, because I think I'm sending him to school and have a job, I would think the school will be protecting them. They're not, and they're passing laws not to. Nicole, I know you're busy. I want to get to a couple more of these here because I definitely want to stress the charter school one. They're ripping the fabric out. If you think we don't need to pass school choice, you're wrong. But give me one or two more. I actually resubscribe today to your new and improved Substack. At least that's the email I got back. And I want to encourage everybody else to do that too. But give us one or two more that was in that article that you wrote about.
Sure. And I didn't mean to cut you off or correct you earlier. All of the bills in that Substack are really important. But AB 495, thanks to Aaron Friday, again, and the relationships that we have at the Capitol because of the work that we have done. I also want to tell people I go to the Capitol, I consult, I work with these Democrats and Republicans to explain to them the law, and try and get them to realize the dangers and the severity and XYZ. I testify against these bill, Aaron as well. And so because of her relationship, she got a tip on Assembly Bill 495. It's not at that time of that article, it was not listed or we didn't know. It wasn't on our radar. So I've done a separate Substack about that. It is a bill. I need to everybody, if anybody pays attention to any part of this, this recording, it's this part right now. So
it's live.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's right now. So everybody stop what they're doing. So, it's a bill by Celeste Rodriguez, and she has it's a bill disguised as a bill to protect the children of parents to protect the bill. It's a bill to protect children of undocumented immigrants who are ripped out of their homes or ripped away from their families by ICE. And so what Celeste has done is she has created a bill, and she calls it the Family Preparedness Plan. And with the bill Family Preparedness Plan Act of 2025, and what she has done is she's created what's this, and it is a one-page caretaker's authorization affidavit. And what this one piece of paper that people will be able to download from the internet is that anybody can go to the internet and Google this affidavit. And with this affidavit and only 4 questions, that being your child's name, your child's birthday, and your name, like, so if I download this form from the internet and I put my address, I will be able, without any ID, any background check, any fingerprinting, be able to take this caretaker's authorization affidavit into the school and unenroll your child from school, and then enroll your child wherever I would like, and then authorize every type of medical care that that school provides.
And I'm
Number
putting out from the family council, and Nicole, I'm supposed to be a math guy, but you're doing really good with numbers. Kudos from the English person, which is legal to me. Family council put out a great heading for that for everybody out there, which will be out in my feed in 1 second. Presto, someone walks away with your child. It can't get simpler than that.
Yes.
And what we need to do, this is actually, and you're right, this is one that was in your article, because they're coming at this, I won't say daily, but damn near daily with something new that's insane. I mean,
well, and everyone has to remember, they pick a theme. So it was COVID, and then it was, it was BLM and systemic racism. Then it was COVID. Then it was the transgender LGBTQT and that. And right now it's immigration. That's the theme. So what they do is, with these topics that are so volatile right now, and nobody wants to talk about, nobody wants to speak out against, is they try and pass these laws, and they say always, every time, and as a Latina, as a child of immigrants, as a lawyer who has worked with immigrants, defended or protected them, advocated for them, fought for survivors of human trafficking, fought against human trafficking. It's offensive because they ride on our coattails, on our backs, to pass legislation that isn't going to affect me and my my white looking kids in my affluent area where we live, and we have resources and we have tutors and people can pick up, and I have a nanny who can help me, and I have my family around that can help us, and we don't anything can happen to my children, but we have a lot of safeguards in place. All of these bills and all of these woke policies are targeting the children that they claim to be helping. So Celeste Rodriguez says, what's happening is that these parents are being detained. They're being torn out of their homes, torn away from their children at graduations, detained, and some of them deported. And these poor children are left crying in their bassinets at home, and there's no one left to take care of them. So what she has created is this affidavit, and an affidavit, to be clear, already exists. A caretaker's authorization affidavit already exists. We use it in dependency proceedings and probate proceedings. So like when a dependency is like foster care, CPS, and probate is like when your family members die and you have a minor or dependent we need to place them. And so and dependency is when the child's parents are put in jail, or someone dies, or they get a divorce and we don't know where the parents are. Those are just limited examples, but we need to decide where this child goes. So this already exists, but what she has done now is expanded the type of people that can use this affidavit to include a mentor. I'm reading the bill because no one wants to believe me, but she's saying now that anybody can, not just a relative of the 5th degree of kinship, which I can tell you what that is in a second, but anybody, including a non-relative family member, which is an oxymoron in and of itself. Okay, you're not a relative, you're not a family member, you're a stranger or an acquaintance, can include let me just read it to you. A non-relative extended family member may include, but is not limited to, teachers, which we were just talking about, medical professionals, clergy, neighbors, and family friends. Literally anybody who has access to these children, not just the children of undocumented immigrants. I'm talking about the single mom who works 3 jobs, who has multiple children because she got a divorce or was in an abusive relationship, or her husband died, or whatever the case may be, or the single dad who works multiple jobs, who his kids are riding home on the school bus, who reaches out to a neighbor, it's the creepy neighbor who reaches out and says, let me help you, has access to the kids. And while the dad is away, gets one of these affidavits, fills them out.
Nicole,
go ahead.
We got to wind to our next segment here. I want to thank you for coming on again. Tell people how they're going to find you here. We've just posted again about this bill. Really do appreciate all you do. You're a ball of amazing fire, and you know that, right? Follow her on X. Go to her site, Facts, Law, Truth, Justice, on Substack.com. Look, that we're having many of you on over the next few weeks because you are protecting the next generation. Not much more can be more important than that. Nicole Pearson, thank you for taking time out of your amazingly busy life to really uncover a lot of this. Scott, Kurt, anything you want to add here?
Yeah, Nicole, thank you for your advocacy and what you're doing.
You're welcome.
Because there's a lot of people that are attacking our children today. But the good news is people like you and a growing number of other people are fighting back, and that's what we need.
Darren, you
Thanks,
guys.
Nicole. Same thing.
Thanks.
And thanks
Thanks.
for putting yourself
Go
out
ahead.
there.
No worries. I just want to say, because I like to end on a positive note. I know we're going. Share this with everybody you know. Follow me for action steps. Sign up for the Substack and tag your senators right now because these bad assembly bills are going through the Senate. Ask them, vote no. What's your position? I vote no. Tag them. Use X. That's the platform where they're at. Embarrass them, shame them, and they're at home on summer break at their local offices. Go visit them. Go to their local coffee meet and greets and ask them to vote no on these really bad bills.
100%. We're going to go on with a few stories after this. We want to let you go at 10 more minutes, but go to Find My Legislature. We talk about this all the time, so you can find who it is. Nicole, go back to your wonderful family. You're a blessing. We're actually going to cover a few other stories here before we sign off. But thank you, and God bless you for what you do. Like I said, the first time I heard you speak, who knows, 4 or 5 years ago, I was younger then too. You still are an amazing person, an amazing advocate. And thank you for putting all the children above just making money. Thank you. God bless you. Again, scroll, follow her on X, and keep rocking and rolling.
Yeah, what a dynamo. What a dynamo.
What a dynamo. Amazing ball of fire. Gentlemen, I want to let you get to some stories here. I just actually posted the thing from Family Council above our show on a couple platforms. Presto, and then your kid is gone. What Nicole is talking about. They literally can just come in. Anybody can go online if this passes and decide that, hey, I should take your kid because whatever. And you all of a sudden are out defending your kid.
Mike, that just like with the immigration stuff, this is going to cause violence. If the government won't protect people's children, they'll protect their own children. People will not put up with this.
No, they won't. And let's cover, Kurt. Earlier in the week or whatever the heck it was, there are cases that are literally Nicole is fighting at the and if you haven't noticed our theme the last few weeks, we have the advocates fighting in the state legislature. We have the advocates fighting the lawyers. We're going to have Julie Hamill on in a few weeks suing the school districts. We've got the people running for state superintendent or state public instruction in Sonia Shaw. We've had the gentleman on who's running the school choice initiative called the CEO Act. Some of these things have gone on so long that reaching the Supreme Court. And Kurt, as our resident House barrister, if you will, tell us about those ones that are going to the Supreme Court. I know there's one or two court cases up this year. It takes quite a while to get there. Tell us about those.
One thing I want to mention that's good news. You talk about good news. Kamala Harris announced she will not be running for California governor in 2026.
Oh, I was waiting with bated breath whether or not she would take the dive. So I presume her buddy, the governor of San Francisco, Willie Brown, our former governor, took her ear and said, "Hey, you really can't do that." It'll be
but
interesting.
instead, she's going to write
Democrat.
a book, 107 Days. I think she should call her book, I Guess I Couldn't Sleep My Way to the Top.
I can only sleep my way to number 2, not to number 1.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So, Mike, let's talk quickly about some of these court cases. I guess my favorite that's probably going to the Supreme Court, the state of California passed a law requiring background checks to buy ammunition. A federal district court struck it down as unconstitutional. The state appealed. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals confirmed the trial court ruling and declared it unconstitutional. So right now, there's a few day window until the state appeals, and if the Supreme Court issues an injunction, where you can buy ammo without the background check, and there are out of state ammo suppliers that will ship it to your house in California. That's a big win.
At least for a
Excellent.
couple of days. I'm sure
Which-
that a lot of the local guys are not willing to take that risk for 3 days worth of sales.
Yeah, but
But
the
the
Texas
out-of-state
guys, I bet
guys?
they are.
Heck yeah. Come sue me in Texas. I'll see you in court.
Yeah, see you in court.
You know,
All
that's
right.
another Democrats' evil. They figure, oh, we're not allowed to regulate guns that well or that strong. Let's regulate ammunition, because a gun without ammunition isn't a whole lot of good. It's just a baseball bat.
Well, just like what Nicole said, is if you bully charter schools and their vendors, you try to prevent people from exercising their rights. That's the Democrat way.
Right.
It's civil rights violations, by bullying and intimidation. They really
Yeah,
are the party
they
of
can't get you
fascism.
through legislation. They do it through judicial activism, and if they can't do it through that, they take the back door and just fight you on the peripheral, like limit your ammo. All right, what's next?
Yeah, bullying and intimidation, name calling, threats, that kind of stuff. All right, so fortunately, the good guys are winning on the ridiculousness of them having boys pretend to be girls so they can play in girl sports. Such cowardly and sissy men should be condemned, mocked, and ridiculed. But there are 2 U.S. Supreme Court cases that will be decided in the fall. One is Little versus Hecox. Yes, that's really the name. So there's a boy pretending to be a girl, Mr. Hecox, who wanted to compete on a women's track team at Boise State University, but the
Is he
state of
related to
Ohio
Scott
passed a
Wiener?
law banning men in women's sports. So that's going all the way to the Supreme Court. I predict that women's sports will be protected, and this pervert won't be allowed to play on women's teams.
What will be the vote? 6-3?
Maybe even 7-2. Maybe stupid Sotomayor Kagan will get an ounce of sense. But since Ketanji Brown Jackson doesn't even know what a woman is, she probably won't vote right.
Hey,
So,
the liberal
West
bloc on
Virginia
the, they never
versus-
say so, but the liberal bloc on the Supreme Court votes the same way every way, no matter what, and it's always the liberal way.
There was a 7-2 decision. There was a couple 9-0s, but usually you're right.
Yeah, they
All
always
right,
talk about the conservatives being a bloc and mandating and forcing their will on the American people. They never talk about the liberals doing the same thing.
Well, they're black-robed legislators. West Virginia versus BPJ, a 14-year-old boy who's taking puberty blockers and hormone therapy, potentially castrating the boy chemically for life.
Their parents
Wants
ought to
to
be put
play.
in jail.
Yeah, he wants to play on girls' sports teams in middle school, and that's going to go all the way up to the Supreme Court, and I think they're going to protect girls' sports on that one too.
They ought to lock the kids' parents up for that abuse.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah, I'd hang them for child abuse. Free speech and conscience. The Childs versus Salazar in Colorado. Colorado's becoming a nutty state. They
Like
passed a
California,
law
they're just a decade behind.
prohibiting counselors from persuading crazy boys that they can't be girls and crazy girls that they can't be boys. So there's a Christian counselor that says, no, I don't believe that, and I'm going to tell the truth. And the Colorado state said, no, we're not going to let you be licensed if you don't say what we tell you to say.
So California has similar laws. They call it conversion therapy, and you're not allowed to, as a counselor, to give advice or counsel to a boy who's confused or the fact that he's homosexual and he doesn't want to be homosexual or whatever. So homosexual conversion therapy or sex gender therapy, basically the legislature is saying that you can't tell the kid that. You can only brainwash him with our stuff. You can't brainwash him with your stuff.
I think
common sense doesn't
again,
count.
yeah, I think that free speech wins out and conscience wins out on that one, and also religious rights. Racial gerrymandering. Under the liberal administrations, they try to force gerrymandering to maximize the number of Democrat seats. But in Louisiana, they gerrymandered congressional districts to create 2 black majority congressional seats. And non-black citizens sued, claiming it was an unconstitutional racial gerrymander. And that's going to be heard by the Supreme Court in the fall.
And Kurt and Scott, I think this is as we roll down the last 7 minutes. I want both you guys to weigh in on really 2 of the big stories of the week that I had in Netter News. One's getting a lot of play in the press and one isn't. Let's spend a couple seconds. I want to get your guys' take on the fact that Gavin Newsom doesn't seem to be bothered by this pesky constitution that we have called the California Constitution and what the people vote in, because he's planning an election maybe as soon as November 3rd when you refer to gerrymandering. Kurt and Scott, I want to hear your guys' 2 take on this for a couple of minutes.
I don't think they can call an election on November 3rd. They can't have an election that quickly, Mike.
But you know what? Explain everybody out there what he's trying to do. We passed in 2014, I believe, an independent commission in the state of California to redraw congressional districts as per this pesky little thing called the U.S. Constitution every decade because of the census. Now, we drew them in 2000 and we settled on the congressional maps. Gavin Newsom, who's mad that Texas is bringing it up, wants, I'm going to call it revenge porn, revenge politics, and wants California to redraw midterm, the Democrats, the legislature, to redraw, even though the people of California, both right and left, voted in to have an independent commission do it in the year of a census. And
I mean, theoretically, the whole concept is what? We want to choose our legislators. We don't want them to choose their voters. And that's
right.
What gerrymandering does. They decide, hey, I want to be in that district where these voters I know will vote for me, and not in this district where they won't vote for me. So every 10 years, they reapportion per the Constitution, and that's part of the reason why you have this illegal alien, invasion, because they count people, not citizens. And so as California's numbers go up, so they get more congressional seats.
But hold on, that aside, we, the people, voted in one of the states not to have the legislature do it. Twice.
And the first time didn't take.
Gavin is simply trying to override the will of the people. It's insane. And if everyone out there, this is like the Democrats have a super majority in California, and now they're trying to crush it in our face to affect the entire Congress of the United States by rigging about 3 or 4 seats. You better be aware of this story before it pops up. Hold on, gents, because if we're not paying attention, and Gavin does manage, Kurt, to pull off a special election, a lot of people aren't going to be watching and are going to get the forces out. And I want you to, sir, think about that.
It's a constitutional amendment. It has to go back to the people. At first, Newsom wanted to just change it on his own, and his attorneys evidently advised him, no, you really have to have the people vote on it. So that's why they're trying to have this special election, so you can vote to basically revoke the special, independent commission and allow the legislature and Newsom to make the decision instead of this independent commission. And that has to pass first.
A special election in an off year, which Gavin Newsom, you made fun of us for trying to recall, even though the people of California voted to recall you. You personally made fun of me for wasting $200 million on that, which was not a waste of money. And now you want to spend $200 million again overturning the will of the people. Scott, Kurt, as we roll down to the end here, talk about Karen Bass and the fact not only is she a communist, but apparently she's taking money directly from the communists. Nothing to see here.
Go for it, Kurt.
Yeah, she's being accused of taking money from the Chinese Communist Party.
So she's been accused of taking money from bankers for her election associated with the Communist Party, because at least they tried to put the illusion of money laundering in front of it, which is illegal for an election. Okay, and these guys.
Yeah, but Kurt, you're not allowed to take money from foreign sources, right?
Yeah, remember Charlie Tree in the Clinton administration? He would sit in the White House, and a Chinese national that was trying desperately to bribe the Clintons. This has been going on with Democrats for 30 years.
So what
And
does Karen
all
Bass get out of this?
she simply
Money.
got out of it more money to defend herself. These stories we're going over again, as I put it, we put them in Netter News. They're on our X feeds. You
Both of
better
those
pay
bankers, both of
attention.
those bankers that had ties to the CCP were on her transition team. So there was payback already.
And
What
as we roll down, we're rolling down to the final minute here. Scott, Kurt, give me an open closing blast, and I'll end it here.
Well, let's see. What is the most outrageous or good
Hey,
thing?
while you're looking
Well,
at that,
we
you
can
got
talk
it?
about out of control crime, but there's so many we couldn't get them all in. Now, the
Fair
Los
enough.
Angeles County supervisors voted to ban federal immigration agents from wearing masks. I guess they don't understand the Constitution. They
No,
have no
they
authority
don't,
to
which is part of
regulate
the problem.
feds.
Part of the problem we have. Kurt, great updates. Thank you. Scott, give me a blast, and I'll roll the end here.
Hey, the reason we do California Free Radio is because we want to inform people about what's going on, because the Democrats like working in the dark, like a bunch of cockroaches. So support us, tell your friends, let them know that we're here behind the blue curtain, let everybody know where the cockroaches are. I mean, the Democrats are.
And for everyone out there, by the way, as the press don't shine a light on the cockroaches, but wants to distract you with a flashlight about things what Gavin Newsom is trying to do, for example, in redistricting all of California. If you haven't noticed, it's people like Nicole Pearson paying attention to what the legislature is doing every day, ripping away at the very fabric of our society, how we raise our kids, how we interface, how we do things. Christine Bish, I see you chiming in there. Hello. People like Adam Schiff, we go on and on about it. But for everyone out there, I need you to pay attention. Because if you don't pay attention, not only on the national level, and again today, in my opinion, amazing victory to bring back physical education by as a presidential requirement to all the kids. Let's stay healthy. Let's keep the next generation going. And while the Republicans are doing it from the top, the damn Democrats in the legislature in California are trying to rip it out through the bottom. God bless. Good night. Remember, it's your damn state. And the only time they will get the upper hand on you is if you let them. We will be back next week. We are California Free Radio. God bless us. Thank you and good night. Take us out.